Hello, my mischief, and welcome to another wonderful episode of the Corvy Career. I'm as always your gaming Rook, and today I'm going to be doing a quick review, and it's going to be a totally honest review of God Mode. Now, this game came out on the 19th of April 2013, and of its current release is now $6.99 on Steam. I'm not sure whether it's available anywhere else, but it is available on Steam. Now, this game features many different features, including a quick match system, which allows you to go into the online murder brawl that is multiplayer networking, and it allows you to create a match so that you can play with your friends. This feature here gives you 3 difficulty levels, which is bronze, which is your novice level, gives you your silver, which is your mediate to moderate level, and gold, which is your hardcore level. Now, each of them do have their own buffs, including different tests of faith, which I will show you soon, and they do make the difficulty harder, including waves, the amount of lives that you get, and the amount of damage that your character takes. Also, we see here there are 5 maps. This I found actually quite depressing, as I'd hoped there would be more. There are 3 key bosses as well, which I won't show you today, but I will show you at another point in time. And they can be in fact found in a very helpful bestiary, which gives you a list of all of the monsters that you will be fighting while playing God Mode. There are some wonderful ones here, and you will come across them all. As I said, I wouldn't be showing you the boss fights, as I would like you to go out and to do them yourself, and to show me how you came across those boss fights and how you did. But there is the Baroness, who is a gigantic harpy. There is the excuse me, there is the Dark Mage, which is pretty badass, and there is of course the Fire Beast, which is the final one, which is a flaming minotaur, as you can see here. There are also quite a variety of enemies for you to be fighting, so the lack of maps makes up for that in key total with just the amount of enemies that you will be fighting. This is a horde style cluster truck of enemies and shooting, and is very good. The basic story behind this is that you are a descendant of a fallen god, and that you have just died and you are fighting your way through Hades. Now, I didn't show you this in the intro, as I've already pre-recorded to check the sounds and the levels, but you are guided through each of Hades' wonderful maps by a spirit guide who offers friendly and helpful advice, inverted commas, on what you should do and how you should approach things. Now, it is extremely comical and has some very dark pitch black humour, but depending on the map you are playing and depending on your level, it depends entirely on what kind of talk that you get from him. And it's good, but not the best in the world, because there's only 4 or 5 of them that are repeated over and over again. This is a big shame for me, as I would have liked to have heard more of the kinds of humour that we hear in Portal and other games and that kind of thing. Along the bottom here you see that we have oaths and cadaver gear. Now, first I will show you oaths. These are multipliers, and basically what they do is they give you a debuff, which makes the game harder, but also increases your gold and your overall experience after the match. So say for instance the Serpent gives you less effective health pickups, but it gives you 10 XP, plus 10 XP to your final overall score, and plus 15 gold. The Sword, which is the one that I always have activated, is less effective ammo pickup, so instead of refilling your entire ammo, it will only fill a small portion of your ammo. This gives the smallest match bonus and the smallest gold bonus. Hound makes the player take more damage. This is extremely difficult, as I have found on many occasions when playing with teammates. The Spider, player deals less damage, so it means you use up more ammo, so used in conjunction with the Sword Oath makes it much more difficult. The Thief is, I think, the most. Yes, the Thief offers 30 for both, but the player has no armor whatsoever, which is, you'll understand, you need armor. It is so difficult to deal without armor. The Warrior deactivates your ability cooldown, and yes, you do have abilities on this. Scorpion causes poison damage, which I can confirm is just as bad as having no armor or having no buff. But yes, it's an interesting game to say the least. Now, I mentioned abilities and buffs as well. Here we can see this is my cadaver. If we press the page numbers left and right, we can turn and show you different styles. And first of all, I will show you the appearance. Now, I was very disappointed in this, as to change the overall appearance and to give yourself a little bit of difference between it. I've stuck with the Victorian because I have my friends who play it with me. They play as the gentleman and the corpse. It's much easier to differentiate between people, and it makes it look a little bit better. But there are just, as you can see here, they are literally just plays on the same 4 or 5 heads, but just with different parts to it. And I found this, to be level 5 and to pay a certain amount for that is kind of depressing. I would have liked to have seen, say, more heads put onto it, or different heads, rather than just giving them a new hat or a new piece of armor that looks a bit different. It's quite, it's just it's a bit of a jip, really, and it's not good. The cadaver gear that you can have is exactly the same. It's just the plays on the first 2 that you get, and they just continue on from there, and you have to unlock all of the, well, you don't have to unlock all of these, but you do get an achievement on Steam, and we know how useful Steam achievements are. But yes, so that's the cadaver gear, and it pretty much goes through that exactly the same as you're going along, with just similar changes on each of them, but with a little bit more added. The accessories you can get, now they are just pretty much different types of sunglasses, and they serve no purpose apart from to differentiate your guys between other people's guys, which is a little bit tedious, as they do cost 5,000 gold. Okay, back onto equipment. Now, the assortment guns is absolutely incredible. As you can see here, the starting weapon is an SMG. I've moved on to an assault rifle because you need a long range and a short range weapon, but as you can see here, there are quite a few that you can play around with. Some of them which aren't as easy to use, such as the buzzsaw or the minigun, which are more support characters, but then you have things like the crossbow, which is still very heavy and very slow to reload, are but very powerful, but it does hinder your character a little bit more. You do get revolvers, shotguns, and the basics, sort of plasma pistols, the technology weapons, which are used for crowd control, but it is better to stick to what you know, so sort of assault rifles and the basic things. There is modifications that you can add to them, so you can upgrade damage, upgrade accuracy, upgrade your magazine, and then when you finally upgraded all 6 of these, you can add an Olympian upgrade. This upgrade is only available after purchasing all the other 6 upgrades and when you've reached level 15. However, it does increase the ammo capacity, so it makes it much larger. So for instance, when you're using a secondary weapon like I am, as a double-barreled shotgun, which only has 2 shots but is highly powerful, it is a big thing to be looking into, like a major thing to be looking into. Back over here, if we just skip back, we see abilities. Currently I have the healing ability, but you do start off with the shield ability. Now the abilities, just like the others, you can upgrade and make them more powerful, which I'm going to do now, so that the healing is much quicker and much better. But you can also get, if you go down here, up to God mode, which makes you invincible for a short period of time. Hammer, which calls down Mjolnir. Firebird, which creates a fiery explosion. Salvage, which gives you more gold. Confusion, which gives you allies against your enemies. Justice, which is basically a lightning bolt strike as far as I know. And On the Edge, which gives you health and armor as a reward, but you do die in one shot. So many of the abilities that are here are sort of, they're a two-edged sword. If you use them correctly and in the correct sort of team, you will survive. You should, in theory, play this with 1 to 4 players, as it does increase your gaming experience and makes it much more fun to play, but it also means it gets more hectic. You do get more lives, but you get more waves to try to take down more people at a time. So it is very well balanced on that. But I'm going to hit ready and I'm going to show you some of the gameplay. First of all, sorry about that guys, I forgot to mention, the second that you come into the game, what you should do is you should go to your controls and instantly change them from what they are. To focus aim, I think I think it was middle mouse button, and to sprint was spacebar. Now I find this very difficult to use, so I've changed it to shift, and I've changed it to right mouse button, so it's much easier for me to do. However, all the others are pretty much fine for you to go for. So yeah, I would stick with that. Another little niggle that I have as well is when you are in a custom lobby, it doesn't give you the option in the options menu here to actually turn off permanent speaking. So when you are in a group and you are creating a group match with your friends on here, what will happen is while you are talking, you will get double speak and you will have to click on their name and you will have to mute them, which is very tedious because after a match it clicks back in. So if you're like me and you record your events and things that have happened, you have a tendency of hearing double speak, and it's really not nice because it echoes through, because I use Skype and it's horrible. It's horrible to listen to. Anyway, let's actually jump in this time.
Didn't you take shop in high school? Well, I suppose it was rather a long time ago. Next time, before you think about trying to repair the old television, why not unplug it first? Oh wait, yes, now that I think about it, there won't be a next time for you.
So as we see there, it gives a panned around introduction to the actual game, and it gives you a funny quote of how you died and how you came into Hades. Now you can do barrel rolls, which is essentially it, but here we are in the actual arena, and this test of faith that we have been given is bomb, which means that bombs now rain down from the sky. This can be a helpful buff or a really painful debuff. I am currently very far ahead in my levels, so I should be able to eat through these with no problem at all. But you see that we have lots and lots of enemies all coming at us in a horde wave. After you've sort of upgraded 1 or 2 of your weapons, you don't really need to worry, and you can kind of absorb damage on bronze level and not really have to worry about taking too much damage or dying, as a matter of fact, unless you sort of haven't quite got the technique down on how to stick it out and how to take down a whole horde as one, which is a big shame, as I would have liked to have seen sort of the enemies become much more difficult as you leveled up, depending on what level you were at. So it starts off much easier and then progressively gets harder as you level up, but it doesn't really, and it's quite a shame. And as you can see, I'm on 100% health. I'm just kind of running around the field just with this horde after me. The graphics in it and the actual visuals are beautiful, and they are some of the most incredible depictions of Hades that I have ever seen in a video game in my entire life, and it was well worth the money that Mike paid for it. This copy is courtesy of one of the members of the Corvi crew, which he got in a 4-pack for, I think it was the special deal for it coming out. But I think it's absolutely incredible, and as you can see, the variety of monsters changes as you're going along, such as this one is now the fire mage, which I was having a bit of trouble with, and then it spawned another one. But I'm actually trying to get my health down quite low so that I can show you the healing ability, but I failed quite miserably on that point. But it'll be fine, we'll get back up and we'll get the healing ability back. You are bombarded by aerial assault as well as ground assault, and there is pretty much all that can be described as a cluster duck that goes on in this. In each maze there is at least 4 different sections to it, so you advance up the environment and you are able to see more of the environment, and it's spectacular. I mean, look at the visuals. Just to have a look at the visuals. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to activate my ability and show you what it is. So if I hold that down, you see it heals me up, and as long as I'm in this ring and as long as things are in this ring with me, there's no real danger that anything poses to me. So I would highly recommend, if you were playing it, to save up all of your gold that you get and get a healing ability, because once you've got that, you're set. Yeah, after a certain amount of enemies have been killed, in fact I can hear him now, a mini boss will come out, and this monster is particularly stronger than the others and usually a lot bigger as well. However, they all have a weakness, and as we know, Cyclops all have one eye, so the idea is to send them into a blind rage. Get it? Blind rage? You know, because they have one eye. They have quite a large amount of health, and you do get quite a large amount of experience from killing them. But yes, let's just finish off this Cupid and see if it's time to advance yet. There we go. And yes, I know I'm using a long-range weapon for aerial assault. Where is he? There he is. Awesome. Well, what I'll do now is I will show you some of the rest of the visuals, and I'll show you some of the other tests of faith, and I will explain them to you. Now, as far as I know, these are called soul gates, and they act as teleporters to the next area, but they are a very, very unique and a very, very nice design. As you can see, just look at that, it's so well thought out. And then where that will take us is up to there, and yeah, so let's advance, shall we? As you can see, there's no particular problems going through, and here is one of my favourite features, is watching the statue come together. Now, some of the buffs, as we've just found with Discord, aren't actually helpful or hindering in any way. They're just there for comedy value. What it does is it speeds up the music and just makes everything in general much faster. It doesn't do anything, it just makes the game a little funnier to play. And having really high-pitched screaming zombies running at you isn't usually the funniest thing for me, because I play a lot of Borderlands 2 and they always sound like the psycho midgets every time they're running at me, the zombies. Here we have a minotaur. Now the minotaur takes not only a lot of damage, but when it dies he spawns mini minotaurs who are blood minotaurs. Now these ones throw flaming axes at you, but they are much easier to kill, so there's not really a particular problem. Once you've mastered the idea that you have to backtrack and reverse off of areas, you are perfectly fine. And yeah, rolling and dodging is a must in this game. It's very much like a fusion of Horde mode from Gears of War and the idea of Dark Souls, and what it would look like if Dark Souls was in a Horde mode style. But all in all, it's most of the enemies are very well thought out and very well designed. I in particular like the particle effects and the teleporting ability of the Chaos Mages. I like, in general, what the creatures look like, the abilities of the creatures, what it is the creatures do when they get too close. It's incredibly fun, and if you need to relax after a day out at work, or you've just come in and you just can't be bothered playing something sensible, you can just flick God mode on for an hour, upgrade some of your weapons, and just have a mess around. It doesn't matter if you get to the end of the maze, you don't get particularly anything else apart from a unique thing from a unique saying from the spirit guide, but it's just incredibly fun. So I've just completed the Discord test of faith, and that's given me some experience points there. And what we're going to do is we're going to advance forward. Not all of the mazes have these teleport features included into them. A lot of them just have pass gates like that, or they have a stone drop, which is on the next one, to a new area. But yes, this is a good debuff towards you, as it creates allies for your personage. Now in this in particular area, this is extremely helpful, as a fire mage always spawns up there, and he always causes me quite a lot of trouble, as we've just seen there. So having allies to sort of take some of the damage for you is a massive help. I'm going to activate my my healing now. As we can see, when I get the next opportunity and I'm not being flanked by go away. And I'm not being flanked by anything, we have come from over that side and down there. Oh good lord, I did not notice that. We have come all the way down, and once we get up to the very top area, we can in fact look back down, and we will be able to see down where we have been, which is incredible to see. Another issue I have found with God mode, however, is that once you die, you revert back to your original weapon, which for me is not my particular weapon of choice, as I prefer quite wide open spread of an area, and I prefer quite wide and open fire, as that's the kind of wonderful person I am. I prefer shotguns to assault rifles any day. I just find them more appealing. The deaths of many of the creatures is quite explosive, and it's, when added with certain buffs, it can make the entire game quite comical. In particular, when a buff such as I'm trying to remember, when a buff such as lightweight comes along, which makes all the enemies light as a feather, comes along, it makes the gravity in the area less, so the bones actually float around for a while. Now with harpies, if you kill them before they spawn too many, all of the cupids, which are the flying ones that they have just spawned, actually die along with them, so it's much better for you to focus on the harpies in the flying case than it is for you to focus on the smaller cupids. Lots of the enemies have certain weak areas, mainly the head, but in fact if many of the enemies that you find, if you shoot them in the head, they don't actually die. There is an achievement available on Steam if you go hunting Steam achievements for shooting the heads off of skeletons, but it's just a bit of a pain. Now this next mage that I've just come across here is called the Necromancer Mage. Now what the Necromancer Mage will do is not only leave sigils on the ground for us, but it will also resurrect recently deceased corpses, turning them into fire zombies as far as I know. I'm not sure, don't call me on that one, but it's a nice feature to the game. On the downside though, you can end up getting totally ripped apart by pointless enemies, and it does become quite tedious very quickly, especially when you're somebody like me who's gone through quite meticulously and you're quite a high level and you end up being taken down, say for instance, by just a basic zombie. I have had many occasions where I've been fighting a boss and there's been no buffs or armor around or available at the time, and just the zombies come up behind me without me seeing it and it's just hit me in the back. Another very tedious and very annoying point that I would like to add about God mode is that some of the enemies are ridiculously overpowered and ridiculously buffed. There is a certain skeleton who is able to fire freezing arrows and basically glue you to one spot and slow you down, which is incredibly annoying. And it's just, you'll be going along and you'll think you are going absolutely perfectly and you think you're going so well, but then you just get hit by this arrow and just in seconds you'll get taken down. Now this is one of the unique mini bosses that is called the Breeder, and what he will actually do is he will drop scarab eggs nearby and he'll drop them on the floor, but if you get too close to him he will actually fire his hand out at you and will, well, it deals a high amount of damage. I think it takes down 3/4 of your armor and 1/4 of your health. Another point that I would like to make about armor and health with God mode is that the armor does not entirely protect your health. It does take away a lot of the damage, but your health will also suffer along with it, which you need to kind of watch out for as well, because you think you're safe behind armor, but it isn't. Now, Grudge is a friendly buff. It's a semi-friendly buff, as it makes other creatures attack each other, and it just makes it generally a bit more of a clusterfuck, which this game is entirely, if you hadn't already guessed by the gameplay. But it just adds in more and more and more, and if you sit back far enough and just don't shoot, you actually can sit and wait for them to kill each other, but then eventually there'll be one victor left and you're stuck with that one. See, the zombies are punching each other. Why? It's because they can, because they are from the underworld, so, well, they found a common interest, which was me, so that they're punching each other now. So that's great. That's just good for me in general. You can choose to be a support character, which is what I am. I tend to pick to be a field medic rather than going into all-out fighting. But it's usually much better to be upfront with a healing ability than it is to wait behind, because this game is all about keeping moving. It's one of those ones that if you've played, say for instance, Call of Duty Online, or if you've played Halo Online, well, Halo not so much, but in particular Call of Duty, and you're a camper, you will not do well on this. You'll have to change your entire gameplay methods, and you'll have to change the entire way that you think about playing games and the way that you yourself play games, and it's just an awkward thing to do. Also, as I've mentioned before, the waves get quite predictable, and you can, on many occasions, as I've just done, predict the waves and where they're going to come from, and you can set yourself up in such a way that you are in a secure area so that you don't really take any damage at all. I don't know if gold mode or silver mode is any different. I would imagine that it isn't. It's just more waves and it's a little bit harder, but for casual players it's much better to just play around on bronze. There's no real need to come out of bronze unless you want the best stuff quick, because I imagine you get more gold much faster. But there's no real need of coming out of bronze unless you really want to challenge yourself, in which case feel free, go ahead. Yeah. The graphics, I must say, as well, on the pickups, like the health and armor pickups, is amazing. I enjoy the particle effects, including the dust from when you kill skeletons. I find the dust is really well done, and this glowing around the actual armor and health pickups, it works really well. It's a very unique thing that I've seen. I know it's probably not unique to God mode, but it's very unique to many of the games that I play. But it just adds everything to the game. Also, I mentioned that you were able to see down to where you've been. That's where we were. We were all the way down there, and we are actually on that floating piece of rock that we saw above us when we were down in the main arena before, where we started off. Which is it's really good. The entire arena is loaded. It doesn't take a long time to load either. Loading times are usually 1 to 2 seconds on the PC, depending on how good your internet connection is and how good your PC is. And overall, just, I really enjoy this. I'm so glad it was bought for me, as I would have probably bought it myself at some point anyway. But it's just so well thought out and so well made, but it's missing some things that really needs. I think if DLC is coming out, I don't want to say I'm the one that's waiting for DLC, because I don't like waiting for DLC, but it's something that's needed with this game. Now, I'm at the end of the maze, so I'm going to show you the boss battle, which is with the Baroness. And we've got God mode, which gives me infinite ammo and invincibility to a certain point, which is great. So I can just sit here on certain points, and I can just shoot the crap out of things, which makes it much easier for me, because I can just stand here and take flak at a certain point. And yeah, this is what the God mode power up is like. Only a little bit better and for longer. Also, in conjunction, as I have the God mode power up active and I have healing, I don't particularly need to worry about my health. And on the boss battle, it seems a little bit OP God mode, and it just seems a little bit over the top in the sense that it's not really needed. You can take the boss down without God mode, it just takes a little bit longer usually, and it obviously gives much more damage to your guns. It gives you unlimited ammo, and it gives you invincibility. I'm going to hide because she's about to do her... Oh, actually no, I don't need to hide because I'm in God mode. She does certain unique attacks which cause high amounts of damage, but then she'll go for a while and then the next wave will come along. But yeah, the boss battles are usually quite well thought out. I would say that the Baroness is one of my favourite boss battles, as it's an intermediate fight, rather than, say for instance, the Fire Beast, which is literally just a battle of dodge and move, and the Chaos and the Dark Mage, which is stop your grinning and drop your linen style boss battle. It's much more tactical, and it's much more about dodging and diving, and it's much more about hiding where you can and hiding away from it when the major attack comes along. In this case, because I have God mode, I don't really need to worry, unless all of a sudden I exit God mode while she's doing that attack, but I don't think she will. While you are fighting the bosses as well, enemies will be attacking you, as you can see here, and they will just be creating more health for you, so don't think you've got an easy run even with God mode on, because you don't. Well, I do, but that's just because I'm me. But overall, it's a well thought out idea, and it's a well thought out game, with some elements of being a little bit OP in both areas of being OP with the bosses, or OP with some of the weapons, or OP with some of the actual gear. It's still very well thought out. Now, I said that the visuals were good and that the entire map was loaded straight away. That is where we have just come from. We have come all the way up and around, and we have teleported up to here. That is where we were. We've come all the way around and up, and we were down there at some point, which we can't see, unfortunately. I'm so sorry for that one. Now, we are about to enter our victory room. Now, this is called the gold room. Now, the gold room gives you unlimited amounts of gold for 30 seconds. Also, friendly fire is on. So if you really wanted to, you could wait until all your friends had picked up the gold. You could then go and shoot them in the back and collect the gold. However, I've worked it out with the other members of the Corvid crew that shooting each other in the back probably isn't the best way to gain a lot of gold, because it just leads to you spending too much time finishing grudges. But that's it. That's the end of it, and you get a certain amount of gold at the end, and you get told sort of what upgrades you have as soon as we get back to the menu. As I say, the loading screens are fairly quick, and it tells you the amount of gold that you picked up, the match experience, the bonus experience, and then the total experience, and then the gold experience, and then the total gold that you got, and the kills and the deaths that you had, and the different things that you have unlocked along the way. It will automatically, after a certain time, bring you back to the custom lobby, but other than that, the game is very good, and on a scale of 1 to 10, I would probably give this game a good solid 8 Corvid feathers out of 10, because this is, at the moment, one of my personal favourite chill out games and one of my personal favourite games to relax to, because it's just so fun to play with friends. As long as you've got friends, unless you're forever alone. But it's so good, and I would highly recommend it to anybody who watches. So I will leave it here. Thank you very much for watching. As always, I have been Rook, and click the annotations in the top left and the top right to watch some of our other videos that we have done. Please check out the other videos on our channel, as you might as well, because you're here. And goodbye, my little mischief, and I will see you again.